Hi again, Caribbeanologists. I'm back here with another video, and let's see what we can talk about today. Today I'm just going to give a little bit of, probably a little bit of a background, maybe a little bit more about me actually, so we can explain where this idea of Caribbeanology comes from. I've spoken about it in a previous video. I don't exactly know what I said in that video. I think I was explaining why Caribbeanology and the fascination with it. So some of the things that I'm going to be saying right now are probably going to be a repeat of what I said in the previous video. But I guess in this video it's going to probably be a little bit more personal. And I'm going to start off by talking about my interest in the Caribbean. Now, when I say my interest in the Caribbean, I am from the Caribbean. Throughout many of my videos, I've mentioned where I am from. I was born in the U.S. Virgin Islands, on the island of St. Thomas to be specific. I was raised on another island known as St. Kitts, and that's where my father is from. And my mother is from a nearby island known as the island of Nevis. Some people see it and say Nevis. Other connections to the Caribbean that I do have, well, those are my roots and where I was actually born. But I have some other connections to the Caribbean, which I will mention shortly. But when I was growing up, I'm a very imaginative person. I'm more of an artistic minded person. So I grew up in St. Kitts in a rather rural area and grew up at a time, my earlier years, I grew up when we didn't have any indoor plumbing, we didn't have a television, we didn't have electricity. There was no street lights on my street, as far as I remember. So I used to be out at night or looking out the window at night as a little boy and just seeing the bright stars in the sky. That fascinated me. Um, the community was an agricultural community. The community was an agricultural community, so and it was sugarcane based. Was the biggest crop that grew around there. So my community was actually built inside or surrounded by cane fields. So on one side, if you look to the north or to the west, there was a mountain range that sloped right down to our community. And our community was more or less built on the lower end of the slope, sloping towards the Atlantic Ocean. So further down the street, we had the Atlantic Ocean. On the other side, we had mountains. At night, I had the night sky, and all around me was just a lot of nature. In terms of plants and trees and fruit groves and cane fields. So I grew up with that kind of environment, and it's always stuck with me. Now, when I left that and I went off into the bigger world and I moved to the United States, I can remember at my first job that I had, my first serious job that I had, it was working for a corporation in Boca Raton, Florida. Pretty large place, pretty large corporation. And I remember I would sit in the meetings that we would have, and I'm not good at meetings, so I'd just be bored out of my mind. And I would have the piece of paper in front of me or my book that I had to take notes, and I would sit there and I would draw a map of the Caribbean region. I would sit there because I pretty much knew what the islands looked like. And I would draw the Bahamas, I would draw Cuba, I would draw Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and I move all the way down to Trinidad. Just used to do that just to fascinate myself. And at the time I was 21ish, 20, somewhere around there. And that it's just been me. I don't know why I was fascinated with doing that. Just always wanting to draw a map of the Caribbean. So I could see from a very early time in my life, I was just fascinated with the Caribbean region. As the internet came into play, and I jumped on the internet rather early, I was not like a late comer to the internet. I think I've been on the internet, started using the internet since about 1999, maybe even 1998 actually. So I kind of got on board with the internet from early. And one of the things that I gravitated toward is research. I just love researching. I wish I was working for someone who actually paid me for all the research that I do, but I just really enjoy researching. And at some point in time, I started researching and learning more and more about the Caribbean, because I've not been to every Caribbean island. I've not been to every Caribbean country. So I would sit there just reading, learning things about the Caribbean, and learning more than the usual casual stuff that people generally talk about. And we normally hear it from tourists or read it in tourist magazines. Just started to learn so much about it. And then I started to learn a lot more about where I come from, the U.S. Virgin Islands. Just started to learn about there because I was born there. But believe it or not, most of my life it was not spent there. Most of my childhood was not even spent there. So I started to learn more about where I came from, learn about our place in history, learn about the interesting things that happened there, learned about our contributions to the world, basically. And so this just started just more and more of a fascination. And then I basically, no one told me to do it, no one called me to do it. I just basically started presenting information about the Caribbean to other Caribbean people or to people who want to know. So when social media came around, like Facebook, I found it as a great platform to start to spread information about the Caribbean, factual things, historical things about the Caribbean. And it fascinated me because people were like, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that about Haiti. I didn't know that about the Dominican Republic. Oh, I didn't know that about Puerto Rico. Oh, I didn't know that happened in Grenada. I didn't know this happened in Guyana. And so I just want to just go ahead and present these things. So, leading all the way up, this is what brings this channel into play because I want to go ahead and craft it into something that deals more and more with the Caribbean. Of course, like I mentioned before, I am going to talk about other things that might not be Caribbean related or might be related in some roundabout way or may be related in a distant fashion because on here, of course, I've spoken about Africa, but Africa plays a great role whether we know it or not. It's the shadow in which our Caribbean region lives in. It basically gave birth to the majority of the population that's there. Our culture and everything, it's very, very, very heavily Afrocentric. So you'll see me talk about other things on the channel, but at times I'm going to get back to talking about the Caribbean, and that's where I want to lead this. And I do have three ideas in mind, believe it or not. I'm not going to share them, but I have three ideas of what I want to do. It's just that COVID-19 came in and just sort of messed up a lot of things because some of this is going to involve some traveling. And it's something that I want to bring to this channel, and I want to take this channel to another level. So thank you guys for coming along for the ride and for watching what I'm doing. One person that believes in me and believe in my vision and believe in what I want to do and who I won't tell you guys right now, but you will see it. But one person that believes in this, it's actually my wife. I thank her so much because she gives me her full support. She tells me, do whatever you have to do to bring your dream, your vision, to bring it to people so people can understand where you're going with this because it's going to provide a value, believe it or not. It's going to provide value to folks. I'm not saying it's going to be a value like me telling people how you can manage your credit and your finances and how you can make $1 million and how you can live like a big baller. It's not necessarily going to be like that, but it's going to be a value in terms of education. And that is my goal at this point. I do have a meeting, believe it or not, a conference call in probably about 15 minutes. So I'm going to try to see if I can bring this video to an end before that time. Now, when I say she believes in me, this is what I mean by she believes in me. And I'm going to talk about her in a minute. For Father's Day, which hasn't come up as yet, she wanted to surprise me. Didn't know what she was talking about, and she's the type of person that does this. But to show you how much she believes in me, she went and something I never even thought about and got me this. Sorry, the camera is going to be acting up because it sees black, so the lighting is going to change out. It's going to have to readjust itself. But it's actually a t-shirt. So talk about promotion. So there you go. And there's another one coming that's even better than this one. But while she was at it, she decided to go ahead and also get me one in black. This is how much she believes in me and believes in my vision. So here you have it. T-shirts with my YouTube logo on it. I wasn't expecting this. Now, I said this video was going to be a little bit personal. So what you're going to see going further into this video is that I am going to go ahead and give you guys like a little photo montage of me and my wife. We've been married 5 years. We've been married 5 years, and we've known each other for probably about 6.5. So she plays a big role in my life in terms of all of this and her support for me. And believe it or not, she doesn't know this, but her coming into my life also added to my passion or increased my passion when it came to the Caribbean, because she is from Guyana, a place I've never been, and a place I had never been before meeting her, I should say. And after meeting her, Guyana, my journey to Guyana, almost 3,000 miles, was the furthest I've ever traveled. I've traveled from New York City to Texas. It was probably my longest flight ever. Of course, since that time, I've flown from New York to Las Vegas, but from New York down to Guyana is probably the longest trip. Not probably, it is the longest trip that I've ever taken. Not only that, it's because Guyana is on another continent. I've never traveled to another continent before, and it just seems so far away. But yet, when I get there, it reminds me so much of the Caribbean, because that's what it's associated with. So even though it's on the South American continent, it is historically, economically, and socially associated with the other Caribbean islands or the Caribbean chain, notably the English-speaking Caribbean. So as a result of that, I want to learn more about Guyana, and that basically just led me to want to just learn more about the Caribbean in general. But for my wife, we met in somewhat of a odd way. It was through a mutual friend who happened to be Jamaican, so another Caribbean person. And he introduced me to her, or pointed her out to me, and we started talking, and eventually things just went very well. And we got married within a year and a half of us talking. And it's just been bliss ever since. So she's supporting me right now with my vision. I'm so thankful. But since some of you guys don't know what she looks like, I'm going to go ahead and put some pictures up that shows you kind of the progression of our lives together, or our life together since we've been married up to this point. So as she came into my life, I was able to take her to where I am from, to St. Thomas. And interestingly enough, I had not been home to the Virgin Islands, where I'm from, for 8 years. I think that was the longest I've ever been away from home. That's how bad it was. I was going through a very, very tough stretch at that time. But as she came into my life, made a lot of things better, made a lot of things easier. I was able to take her to the Virgin Islands, where I'm from, and I'm so happy to report that she loves the Virgin Islands, and that we've been going every year. And we were supposed to go this year in April, but again, the coronavirus came in and took care of that. So we have gone home to the Virgin Islands every year since 2016. And we have gone to Guyana, well, I have gone to Guyana since 2014, and until 2019, I had gone 7 times already, believe it or not. So we both enjoy each other's countries, and that's a very, very great feeling. But as I said before, I want to take this channel to another level. And as you can see, she's supporting me right now. And I want to go ahead and take it from here and take it to that other level once this coronavirus dies down and I'm able to do a little bit more traveling and so forth. Obviously, we need a capital. That's going to be something I have to figure out to be able to do this, to make sure I can take this channel to the next level that I need to take it to. But without me talking so much and continuing talking, I'm just going to go ahead right now. And after this, hopefully in the editing process, you guys should eventually start seeing some photos of us over the almost 7 years that we've known each other. And I hope you enjoy it, okay? So, this is a little bit more about me to let you guys know. I'm going to let you into my life, let you see my wife, let you see my children, um, and hopefully you enjoy it, okay? And it's just to more or less make myself a little bit more relatable to you guys, that I'm not just some weirdo out there behind the camera or anything like that. Just like everybody else, just out here trying to survive and trying to make a living in this world. So I want to thank you for your support, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of what you're going to see, okay? You guys take care. Until the next video, watch it all the way to the end. You can subscribe, you can like, and well, subscribing is the biggest thing right now. You can like it, and you can also share if you desire. Okay, you guys take care, and thank you so much. Enjoy the photos. figuring some of you may be confused by some of the photos that you saw. Just need to clarify some things that I did not explain before the pictures started rolling. That is, you're going to see pictures of my first 4 children. They were from a previous marriage. And then, of course, the picture of the little baby, which is my son from my current marriage, and most likely will be my last. So I just want you to clarify that. All photos were taken either in St. Thomas, United States, Virgin Islands, where I'm from, Guyana, where my wife is from, New York City, where we live, and there may be a few pictures, I think, scattered in there that were taken in Illinois, perhaps Virginia and North Carolina. Definitely the photo with my daughter in her military uniform, because she's in the Navy, was taken in Illinois. Just want to clarify, so when you go through the pictures, or since you've already gone through the pictures, that you'll have a little bit of a better perspective or context of where those photos were taken. Anyway, again, thank you so much for tuning in and for seeing a little bit of my personal life. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it gives you a little bit of a better understanding of who I am and where I'm coming from. You guys take care until the next video.